The second one is Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln, we all know that he signs the the Emancipation, the 1863 Emancipation, on October 22nd of 1862. But it doesn't come into effect until July 1st, 1863. Now, what in a lot of African American churches across this country, we celebrate a thing we call Watch Night, and it still goes on today. And what happens is we turn off all the lights in the church, and this still happens today. We turn off all the lights in the church, and there are people standing in four corners of the church with a candle, and the pastor, watchman, what of the night? And the response comes back, it is 11:55 and all is well. And this goes on several times. And then finally he says, watchman, watchman, what of the night? And the watchman says, it is 12 o'clock and all is well. And that begins the beginning of the 1863 Emancipation and the freedom of the end of slavery in this country. But the end of slavery doesn't really take effect until June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas. And it takes that long for the entire country to find out about the emancipation and slaves being freed. It takes 2 years to reach Galveston, Texas. And of course, in Galveston, Texas, they have a major celebration, and of course, we consider it African American Independence Day, and it is celebrated all over this country, and it is called Juneteenth. Now, the two people I like to cite is Harriet Tubman, and the reason I'm citing her is because of the Underground Railroad. And there are 59 Underground Railroad stops in the state of New Jersey. Now, on most maps, recent maps, the city of Patterson does not show up as an Underground Railroad site, although it is well documented. There are a number of historians who discredit or don't give Patterson the due it deserves for the Underground Railroad. And of course, I get a little upset, but I keep forgetting that it was all clandestine. So here we go. It's not to make a joke, but there are 59 sites in the state of New Jersey, Underground Railroad sites. Now, there are four major corridors. New Jersey is the main corridor, but there are four Underground Railroad routes leading through New Jersey, heading towards Canada, or the Eastern Shore, being New York, Canada, the Eastern Seaboard. Now, of course, what makes it significant in terms of the national parks is that there is a Harriet Tubman National Park in Maryland, and so the national parks are being celebrated with the Underground Railroad being the focal point in Harriet Tubman. The second person I like to cite is Frederick Douglass, and there's also an a national park site celebrating Frederick Douglass. Now, what makes Frederick Douglass so significant as it relates to Patterson, New Jersey, is in 1859, Frederick Douglass comes to the city of Patterson running from the slave catchers who thought that he was with John Brown at Harper's Ferry. And he's living in Hoboken, New Jersey, with a white woman named Ottilia Assing. Now, Ottilia Assing was of German descent. Her family was wealthy. They were still in Europe, but she's an educator and she teaches music. But anyway, she lives in Hoboken, and that house still exists today. It's still standing. And what happens is, because Frederick Douglass is afraid that the slave catchers will catch him in New York, and they're going to catch him at the Hoboken terminal, he wants to go back home. And again, lives in Rochester. And of course, if you can read it between the lines, he's got a wife and family in Rochester, but he's living with a white woman in Hoboken. So what they do is they come to Patterson to catch the train on a train line that still exists today. It starts in Hoboken and it goes to Suffern, and then it goes to Patterson. And then it goes to Suffern, and then it goes to Hoboken. So what they do is they come to Patterson to catch the train on a train line that still exists today. It starts in Hoboken and it goes to Suffern, and then it goes to Patterson. to Suffern, New York, and he gets off in Suffern, catches another train from Suffern to Rochester, his home. Now, in those days, it was part of the Erie line. Today, it's part of New Jersey Transit. Same exact line, no changes. Now, there are three reasons that I feel, I contend that Frederick Douglass may have come to Paterson. Number one, Frederick Douglass he knows that the anti-slavery society is here. And there are 7 men that are part of the Paterson anti-slavery chapter. So he knows that that's one of the reasons he comes. The second reason is Frederick Douglass is African. He belongs to a congregation or a denomination called African Methodist Episcopal Zion, founded by Charles Varick in New York in 1755. And so, this again, the first African American church in the city of Paterson was founded in 1834, and it was called the Godwin Street African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. So not only was Frederick Douglass a member of this denomination, so was Harriet Tubman, and so was Sojourner Truth. They all were members of that specific denomination. So that's number 2. And number 3 is, of course, the railroad running straight through. So that's the association with President Lincoln. And of course, President Lincoln had talked to both of them, those people. Now, in addition to both of them have national parks, are represented by the National Park Service.